Welcome back to a new class of AI, machine learning, data science, and big data analytics. The topic of this class is going to be file handling, OOP basics, virtual environment, and package management. So, what you will learn in this class is going to be how Python reads and writes files, what classes and objects are, why OOP is important in AI and machine learning, how virtual environments function and what those are, and also installing packages using pip. So, before getting into our practical part of this class, we need to get an overview and idea about the topics that we are going to cover in this specific class. So, first off, we're going to learn about the file handling OOP basics, virtual environment, and package management. So, file handling basics. So they are the open function. There are different type of file modes which are R, W, A, and R+, which have different functions on each and every one of those assigns. Then what it does is it reads texts and also writes, and we're also going to learn about the best practices using keywords. Now, what are file handlings in real AI and also data science works? What it does is that it examines data set, it helps you to keep logs, prediction exported, and also composing reports. Now, what are the OOP basics? There are mainly four things. First off is the class. The second is the item, which is also known as the object in most cases. Then we have the qualities, are known as attributes in programming term. Then we have is the techniques, which are known as the methods. And the last one is going to be init and also the constructor, which is going to be also part of the syntax of how these function. Okay, now let's move on to the next page. So we also have to learn about why OOP is important in machine learning. It's because models are the objects that we already talked about. There are specific pipelines for pre-processing. Now, what are you going to use these pipelines for? Only for specific objects. Then it helps you for a cleaner code, and also it is used for encapsulation, which makes the code look a bit more cleaner and also organized so that you can keep it for future purpose or reuse it. And the most important part, as Python is very versatile, most of the things are reusable, but when you are using OOP, what it does is that it creates reusable parts so that it reduces the time of effort and also it reduces all of the work. Then, organizing the files. So, the virtual environment and also package management falls in the organization of files in Python. So, what do they do and what are those? So, if we talk about the virtual environment, well, if you've seen my classes from the beginning to the end, you already know what a virtual environment is and how does it look like. So, virtual environment is an independent remote workspace. It keeps the packages distinct from each project, and it is crucial for data science and also machine learning initiatives. Well, to keep it smaller, or even let's say to summarize it, what virtual environment does is that it gives you your own type of environment, or even let's say, for an example, let's say it creates you a space or a small server where you can run the program, you can test them, you can debug them, and also if you want to launch it, you can launch it directly from the virtual environment. Then we have to talk about the package management. Now, package management is a process. Okay, what you can do is you can install packages with the name using pip, which I'm going to show that to you later on. And also in one of my classes, I've shown you how you can install any module or any package using pip or the terminal. Then package management is also enhancing the functionality of any programming language or running the program. It also helps you to eliminate any type of data or any type of package that you do not need. And also it helps enumerating installed packages in Python or even in other programming languages if you are working along with it. So now that we have a clear idea or a small idea about the topics of this class, which we're going to cover. So first off, let's open up PyCharm on our screen and let's get started with coding and also give you a clear idea about the topics that we have given you a small idea about. So the first thing that you can see on my screen is that I just opened up PyCharm. Now the first topic that we're going to cover in this class is going to be the OOP basics. Now I'm going to tell you what OOP is, I'm going to show you the terms, and I'm also going to give you an example of how you're going to work with it. So first off, click on a new project. Here I'm going to name it, let's say file underscore adjustment underscore environment. Now wait for a bit until the virtual environment is created on your screen. Now every time you open up PyCharm, you will see that it is going to show you a screen where it says creating virtual environment. Well, every time it opens up on my other screen, so it doesn't show up on my screen, okay? But I will show it to you later on and I'll show you how it basically works. Now, another thing you have to keep in mind is that as we're also going to be showing you package management, make sure you have a stable internet connection throughout the whole process, okay? So just like I said, what is OOP? So OOP are also known as object-oriented programming. It is basically a structure of the code in specific objects that contain data and also function at the same time. Now, in my previous classes, I've shown you how you can work with function, how you can work with variables, and even how you can work with conditions or even loops. So if you do not, or if you still have any problem with those classes and you did not understand or let's say practice those classes yet, then I would suggest you go check out those classes again, because we're going to be using all of those in this class, and it is going to make sure and it will just give you a clearer idea about OOP. So OOP contains of a couple of things, or let's say there are a lot of things that are going to be put all together, and it is going to make up the OOP term, which is the object-oriented programming. Now, let's say, to keep it more simple, the way you are going to use Python to use its functions and data in such a way so that everything is object-oriented or also managed in a clear way to make it reusable, errorless, and also versatile is also known as OOP. Okay, so I'm going to give you out some types of, examples. First off, let's create our first Python file. Here, I'm going to put in OOP example. Okay, so there we go. Our Python file has been created. Now, just like I said, it contains objects and also contains data, and it can also add up functions. So OOP contains of class, object, attributes, method, and also the constructor, which is init. Okay, so the class is also known or can be termed as the blueprint of the program. Let's say the pipelines of the program. Now, then we are going to need the object, which is going to be the subject, or let's say the item of the class or the program. Then we're going to need the attribute, which is going to be the quality or whatever data you want to put inside of that variable. Then we're going to need methods, which is going to be following specific syntax and using specific function inside of the variable, or also known as the class. And the last one, to create the object, to create the outcome, we're going to need a constructor, which is init. So first things first, let's say, as we're going to need a class, so define in class just like this. then we're going to need an object, or let's say a variable. Here, I'm going to put in pupil. On the next line, and on the same indentation level, I'm going to put in def, which is basically starting our function. Now, on the next part is going to be using our constructor. So it creates the object into OOP. So underscore and put in init. And you will see the first thing that opens up is going to be the self. Now, after the self, let's say I need specific attributes or specific qualities. First off, we have to create the filtered, or let's say the heading or the categorized data, such as a variable. So here, I'm also going to put in, let's say, username, comma, and I also want the department, or maybe let's say I'm just going to put in year. Okay, so I'm going to put in starting year, and now I'm going to create the attributes one by one. First off, you want to put in self. So the self is going to create the attributes. So self dot, and then put in the username, which is going to be also our attributes. Username equal to username. Okay, and here in the same way, I'm going to make sure our year is also validated. So self dot year is equal to year. In this way, our attribute is created. Now on the next part, what I want to do is that I want to define a name, but I'm not going to put it directly, but instead I'm going to create another function or define another function. So put in def, and here I'm going to put in greetings to be another variable. Open up the parentheses as self, which is basically the method of making sure that our greetings is run. So on the last part, we want to put in the return value. So f double quotation, here let's say my username is. Now, as we are using f and also function, what we put here is going to be the third bracket or the curly braces. Here I'm going to put in self dot username, because first off I want my name. After the username, put in space, and my starting year was, third bracket or curly braces again, and put in self dot year. There we go. And I'm going to put in a full stop at the end. That's all that I'm going to do. Now, what we want to do at the end is going to be creating the object. Now, we have already created the object using init. So we have to make sure we create the object one by one. So let's say, as this is, let's say, a line, which I want to print. But if you want to print out more lines, you can do that. So here, I'm going to put in pupil 1 is equal to pupil, and then I'm going to put in a parentheses. Now, first off, I'm going to put in myself. So my username is going to be Gary. That's it. And also, my starting year was, let's say, 2022. Okay? Now, if I want to print all of this out by calling the method, okay, so I want to type in print student 1 dot and put in greetings. Open up the parentheses just like this and run the program. You will see that it might show me off as an error. Okay, so we have student over here. Instead, I'm going to put in, let's say, pupil. Run the program, and there we go. My username is Gary, and my starting year was 2022. So what we did over here is that the class pupil. This is the blueprint, okay? Or this is the start of the program. Then we put in self, which is username or even self year. This part basically stores the object data. Then when you put in greetings, this greetings is the object action. And when you put in pupil 1, which is basically pupil and then whatever your name is, so it basically creates an object. If I put in pupil 2 equal pupil, let's say my name is Alan and my starting year was, let's say, 2023. If I print out the exact same thing, say pupil 2 and then put in dot greetings and open up the parentheses and run the program. There we go. In this way, you'll be able to run the same program and reuse it without any error. Okay? Now, you might think that why are we going to use this complex method in Python? Well, not in Python. You want to use this in machine learning and also sometimes in data science. It is because in machine learning, you are going to work with specific models, which are going to be the object. Just like you can see, the object over here, or the object data, is going to be the def init and the username or year. Okay? And this greeting is basically the action. So when you are working or when you are applying OOP in machine learning, there's going to be specific modules. And when you are working in machine learning, there is a specific module that you use, known as the random forest classifier, which basically helps you to train your specific models. Now, your models could be X, Y, A, B, C, D, whatever like variable you want to use. And just by using those models, you are going to predict specific type of data or specific type of results. So when you are using those models known as random forest or also known as random, it basically helps you to predict, fit the data, use the model, and also use specific classes. Let me just give you an example. Let's say here I have a specific model equal, say, random forest classifier, which is obviously not installed yet, and I don't want to go through that yet. So first off, we put in model.fit, and then you're going to train your values. Let's say a underscore train, comma, b underscore train, to train in just your data. And here you put in model.predict, and then you put in the variable or the value of your data, or let's say your objects, okay, such as a underscore train. Now, even though this is not going to work in this class, we need a different environment and a different module to run this. So one thing over here is that we have created a class. Then we have the model, which is already defined at the first, which is basically our object. Then we put in .fit. Basically, this is the method. And also, we also have .predict, which is also another method. Just like you can see, we did greetings. So if you want to fit the data, that is also, let's say a method. If you want to predict, that's also a verb, which also makes it another method. So when you use these type of syntaxes, this basically turns into pure OOP or object-oriented programming. Okay? So now you have learned about what OOP is and how it basically works. Now, the next thing that I want to do in this class or cover is going to be the virtual environment. So you can already see we have this venv, or the library root. This is the virtual environment, which is basically a separate Python workspace for each project. Now, if you go or close this project, it will basically just go onto the home interface. And there are going to be a lot of other projects that you have saved or you can open up at any time. So that is what a virtual environment is. What it does is that it prevents version conflicts. Let's say as I have 3.12. Now, if I just directly change it to 3.10 and I have something which only runs on 3.12 or higher, then there's going to be a conflict and there's going to be some errors that you have to handle or fix up. Obviously, not all the version or older versions are not the same as the newest versions. Even though a lot of them are stable, a lot of them, the programming or the syntaxes are same, but not all of the modules run on all of the versions, or let's say, Python models. So it just prevents the version conflicts and helps you to keep a stable and functional environment. So there are some things known as the TensorFlow 2.15 or TensorFlow 1.15. So if you are working with, AI projects, machine learning projects, or data science, then I would suggest you use 3.12 or higher. But if you want the most stable one, I would suggest you to go for 3.12 most of the time. Okay? Now, obviously, you know how to create a virtual environment, which I already have shown in most of my classes up till now. Now, even though if you do not know how to open up a virtual environment, what you want to do is first off, click on the terminal. Okay? Press on got it. And over here, you want to type in Python -m and put in venv. That's all that you want to type in. And you just want to type in, hit on enter. Now, it might give you an error just like this because it already includes or has the virtual environment. But if you do not have it, and if you still want to force install it, type in venv, then put in /, type in scripts, / again, and type in activate. There we go. In that way, the virtual environment is going to be activated and opened up on your project. Okay? So that is basically how you install, let's say, Python or the virtual environment if it is not working. But if you follow the steps that I use to create a new project, in that way you don't have to create any virtual environment. Okay? Now, the last topic that I want to cover in this class is package management. So package management is also very important. And if you've seen my, let's say, the first class or the introduction of this course, you already know how to install packages. Such as, let's say, I want to install a new module. Let's say NumPy in this case. There are two methods of installing a module. First off is typing on the terminal, which I prefer most of the time because it is easy. You only type in pip install and type in the module, such as NumPy. Hit on enter and wait for a bit, but make sure you have a stable internet connection because you will see that it will download a couple of data that is not available on your device. But if it has it, then it's just going to run properly. Now, just by running it, you can see it is indexing the data because there are new type of data, new modules, which is being applied directly to your interface without even having to close the software. Okay? Now, another thing that you can see over here, it is showing me to update run python exe -m pip install -- upgrade pip. You can run the exact same thing. Copy, paste it, and you will see that it is going to install the latest pip available for your device or according to the time. Okay? It is going to uninstall the previous one and it's going to install the latest one. If you want to upgrade any specific module or package, type in pip, type in install, put in a dash, or let's say space, and put in 2 - and type in upgrade, and then put in space, and let's say I want to upgrade NumPy. So it will have the latest version of NumPy available on the website. If you want to uninstall any specific package, type in pip, type in uninstall, and let's say NumPy, I don't want it anymore. hit on enter, and it will be uninstalled in just a couple of seconds, but it is going to ask you again for confirmation. Let's say why. There we go. Successfully uninstalled NumPy. Now, if you also want to check what packages are installed on your device, type in pip and type in list. Hit on enter and wait for a bit, and you can see we only have pip available and we don't have anything else. Okay, so this is the first method. But if you want, let's say, an alternative method and you don't want to type anything, first off, just click on this over here, or right click over here, or just click on this and go down and click on interpreter settings. Click on that, and what you're going to do is you're going to see this Python interpreter. If you want to apply any new packages, just click on this plus icon, and anything or the new packages is going to appear over here. Well, if it doesn't show up, what you want to do is, first off, let's say I want to select my interpreter, show all. If it doesn't show up, you can see try the redesign packaging support. Now I'm just going to press on OK. Click on this over here again. Click on new interpreter. You can add in local interpreter. You can see we have this 3.14. So let's say I'm going to change it. Let's say I'm going to apply to the existing one. If you want a new one, there we go. Inherit the global packages. And I'm just going to cut this part out. You can see it is empty, so I'm going to put in venv. Well, if it does not work, what I want you to do is, first off, let's just create or close this project first. In a couple of seconds, this is exactly how it will open up. Click on new project. Let's say I'm going to keep it 20 just like this. And I'm going to make sure to open this up on 3.14 this time. Here, I'm going to just press on create and wait for a bit until it opens up on your screen and shows the interface. Okay? So there we go. This is how it should look like. And wait for a bit just for the indexing and updating these skeletons. And after that is done, what you want to do is click on over here, interpreter settings. Here you can see we have these Python packages tool is not found. First off, install packaging tool over here. Okay, there we go. Over here, press on OK. Install packaging failed. If it shows you it has failed, then you want to run the program again, and you can add in interpreter anytime. So now what I did, I am using 3.12 again, which I told you is the most stable one. Now click on this again and click on interpreter settings and click on this plus icon. And it will take a bit of time, and you're going to need a stable internet connection. And there we go. There are a vast amount of packages or modules which basically you can install in Python. Let's say if I want pandas, I'm going to search for pandas. There we go. We have pandas. If you want to use NumPy, I'm just going to search for NumPy, and there we go. Now, whatever package you want to install and use, click on that and press on specify the version. If you want to see other options, click on that, and you can also install specific package versions too. And after you are done clicking on that, just press on install package. And in this way, you are not going to need to write anything on your terminal, and you can just install any package that you need in Python or for any work. In that way, you can see we have NumPy installed, and from here, you can also update the versions whenever you want to. Let's say, as you can see, we have pip over here, so we don't have to type in pip upgrade or anything. What we can do is we can just click on this, and you can see it will just open up again like this. We can specify the version, and the latest is 25.3. You can see it over here. Click on options and just press on install package. In that way, the pip version is also going to be updated without typing anything inside of the terminal. Okay, so obviously there are going to be different type of methods and alternate methods of how you'll be able to work. So that is going to be it for this class, and hope you understood about everything in this class. If you still have any confusion or any question about any part of this class, feel free to ask me anytime. I'm always there to help you out. So without any further ado, let's move on to our next class of AI, machine learning, data science, and big data set.